the 2024-2025 Phoenix Suns will go down in NBA history as the worst big three the league has ever constructed.
Let's talk about how they went from making the finals to making us sad.
I feel like the modern NBA is, defined by a lot of things, a lot of different factors in play that make this era different from previous ones. But chief among them is that we see a lot of extremely talented players team up in ways that we didn't see before because of player empowerment, because of the way free agency works, the way trades work, etc. Lots of talented teams have put together beautiful cores over the years. We've been blessed to see Chris Paul and James Harden play together, to see Anthony Davis and LeBron James play together. Big twos, big threes. They've all defined our adolescence,
Giannis, Damian Lillard, and Kyle Kuzma. Big threes. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's good for the sport.
They define our sport. Most of them make for good content.
Yeah,
most of them have been fun to watch. And then there is the Kevin Durant era Phoenix Suns, which have been an outright atrocity, disrespectful to the sport almost.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And we'll get into all of this. I'm not going to start breaking down the moves they made that are upsetting, but we got flashes. There's flashes of a good team here at points throughout their tenure. And it's just a series of moves where they lost a little bit of value here or a little bit of value there or a massive amount of value on a couple of them. And it's resulted in a team where Kevin Durant really still playing like one of the best players on the planet, and it just does not matter at all. Extremely,
not even a little bit.
Yeah, no, like there's nothing he could do at his current state, which is like, again, incredible to lift this team even into average territory.
Yeah. So, like you guys see by the title, like you guys heard by the intro, we're going to talk about the 2024-2025 Phoenix Suns. More specifically, we're going to talk about why they're terrible, why it's disappointing to us, and mainly how we goddamn got here. How they went from being so young, up and coming, promising, exciting, every adjective you could think of, to just the absolute mess that we're looking at now that seemingly has no hope for the future.
Yeah, I'm glad we're finally getting to do this. For everyone listening, we've had this stashed for like a month because we were waiting for the Jimmy Butler trade to drop, because every single report, Jimmy Butler's going to Phoenix. There's literally no other option except Jimmy Butler to Phoenix. Jimmy Butler will be a Phoenix Sun. So we've just been sitting on this idea for a video this entire time.
Dude, the reports made it seem like they almost said Jimmy Butler would rather cut his hands off than play somewhere that's not Phoenix. Yes. So surely it would have happened. That's why we waited. We wanted to call this team a disaster class a month ago, but here we are. And the fact that didn't happen is a big part of this story and what we'll get to towards the end of this video when we get to what next. What do you do about this mess? Yeah. But let's start at the top. Let's talk about why this team is currently bad this year.
Okay.
In one of our first episodes, I listed my top 5 biggest surprises of the year to you. One of them was this Phoenix Suns being terrible. I did not really expect this for a few reasons, but the reasons they're bad: they're 26 and 28 on the season. Currently, the goddamn 11th seed during the All-Star break. 13th in offensive rating. That should not be the case ever when you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. 13 is hilarious, but most importantly, 27th in defensive rating. After being 13th last year under Frank Vogel. We'll talk about that later. 27th in offensive rebounding, 27th in turnovers forced. This is a really bad team in pretty much every regard. They're mediocre offensively, atrocious defensively. They don't do any of the physicality, any of the hardworking grit stuff around that to make up for anything. They do not have many redeeming qualities.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, that's true. That's true. It's a very blunt way to put it, but there's just not that many aspects of basketball that you watch a Phoenix Suns game and you're like, damn, they've really got the opponent pinned here. Whether it's like the opponent can't stick with them as like shooters, or they're beating them up on the glass. You never feel like the Phoenix Suns are truly excelling in any capacity at any fact.
But why is that? Why does Kevin Durant and Devin Booker not combine to provide you advantages in any way? How can that possibly be the case?
I don't know. When I look at this team, my quarrels are less with Booker and Durant, although I do think we haven't gotten the season from Booker that I expected from him.
Yeah.
I came into this year kind of my opinion of Devin Booker was he was a guard that could like put on a facade of an MVP for small stretches. He could keep a bad team competitive for like 5 or 6 game spurts. He's not going to floor raise a garbage roster into the playoffs by himself. But if Kevin Durant went down, I thought Booker would be able to steady the ship, and that really was not the case for the first half of the season so far. They at one point were 12-11, despite being 11-2 with Kevin Durant in the lineup.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and that's not entirely Booker's fault. The team is bad, as we'll get to, but I did think he was going to be better at like maybe scraping out a couple of just like hot hand 45-point, nuclear shooting games, and that has not been the case.
So I'm stupid. Let me say that first.
Me too.
I'm not smart.
Two dumb guys. That's why you're tuning in.
Yeah, just two big bozos. I don't make good predictions ever.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'm always wrong. And the biggest case of me being wrong this year, I think that I feel the worst about, because the process was stupid and naive on my part, is I believed that Mike Budenholzer would come in and in large part fix this team. And when I say fix, I don't mean I thought they'd win the finals or anything crazy.
Yeah.
I thought they would be good. I thought they'd be competent. I think I picked them to be the 5 seed before the season started, which was very hopeful because I saw the preseason and I saw a lot more high 3-point volume. Last year they were obviously high and mid-range volume. We were begging them to get a little more modern. I saw that in preseason. I saw a lot more off-ball movement. I saw them bring in playmaking talent like Monte Morris and Tyus Jones after last year Devin Booker had run point guard. And there was just very little passing talent across the roster.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, those guys aren't that good. They're minimum signings for a reason. But more plus passers will make things easier for their stars. They'll shoot more under Mike Budenholzer. He's just as good of a legacy defensive coach as Frank Vogel, so I think the defense will stay relatively the same. They brought in some other interesting young players, like drafting Ryan Dunn, who shot the shit out of the ball in the preseason, all this stuff. I thought the team would make more sense for the style they wanted to play, and they'd be a little more competent in enough ways that would make them good. Not a single thing I just mentioned maintained.
Nice.
They still suck at all of those things. They're still an incredibly small team. Those passers I mentioned are bad players at this rate. Tyus Jones did not come in to make them better. He is the least aggressive scoring guard in the NBA, so his passing means nothing to your offense. He's the worst defender in the NBA this year. Monte Morris is their friends made along the way. Their big rotation is the worst in the league, maybe second worst in the league now they got Nick Richards.
Yeah.
They're small on the wings. Grayson Allen was good last year. Now he's not because he added 40 pounds of muscle, and now he moves like he's 60. They aren't as healthy as they were last year. It is a outright atrocious team. The Bradley Beal signing was an utter failure.
Yeah, there's a lot of different just like warts on this team. The thing that jumps out to me is that last season with Booker, Kevin Durant, and Beal on the floor together, they were plus 7.5 with they were putting up 123 points per 100 possessions with an effective field goal percentage of 60%. Both of those numbers are 95th and 99th percentile respectively. So last year with their big three on the floor, overwhelming offensive team, generally speaking. They could really score the basketball, and that didn't pan out in the postseason. It was a pretty ugly exit in the playoffs, all of that other stuff. But it was what seemed like a pretty solid foundation on which you could make some tweaks around the edges and come out on the other side of the offseason heading into this year with a really solid team. And so far this season with those three on the floor, they have been plus 0.3. Putting up 119 points per 100 possession, which is just 80th percentile. That's fine. And their effective field goal percentage is really solid still. Like they're still 95th, 99th in efficiency or whatever, but it's just offense that is not good enough to overshadow a team that isn't good at anything else. They're not good at rebounding. Yeah. They're not great at shooting. They're not good at they're atrocious defensively, in large part to some of the guys that you talked about. I think Tyus Jones and Yusuf Nurkic might be the worst, the most destructive two-man pairing in the game as far as building a defense goes.
You mentioned, I had these stats pulled up. I'm glad you brought that up because I was on the same wavelength. I have a graphic here for it. Plus 0.3 net rating with the 3 stars, using that term loosely, on the court, right? If you look at their former starting lineup before they traded Yusuf Nurkic, which is their most used lineup of the year with Nurkic and Jones, what do you think their net rating is in that lineup? You can't see the graphic that fans can see right now.
It's gotta be. I'm going to say -7 on the year.
You are naive. It is minus 17.3.
Oh my God. Yo,
And
that's
when
as a
there's-
Nurkic hater from way back. Oh my God. I cannot fucking believe that people were, he's an Ayton upgrade. His passing, it's gonna do stuff. No, man.
God, fuck off.
He is I mean, genuinely one of the most destructive players in the league this year. It's insane to watch.
And with Bradley Beal off the court, but Booker and Durant on, they have a plus 6.3 net rating, which is not what you'd want to see from your top two stars with this type of heavy talent. I mean, heavy like roster construction.
Yeah.
You'd want that to be a little bit better, but it's fine. It's competent. Like, it's good enough. But everything else around it for all the players you're talking about really took this team down. And we're going to talk at length about each specific player we mentioned and like the reasons why it hasn't worked and how they've really limited this roster. We'll get to that because now I think it's time for us to chronicle the last 5 years of this organization.
Before I move, I did just want to say they are heading into the back half of the season with the hardest schedule in the league. So
that doesn't help.
Like, if you think things are going to get better, they're probably not.
Yeah, maybe Nick Richards will really change things around. I hope so. Good guy.
Yeah. Average player in place of one of the worst in the league. Maybe it helps. I don't know.
Low key it will, but we'll decide if we think it's enough. And spoiler alert, I fucking don't think so.
Probably not. Shout out Nick Richards though.
Yeah. But okay, so we know why they're bad right now. We know the deficiencies in the roster. How did we get here? I think we start this story off chronicling every single season or every little mini era, starting with 2020 and 2021. I labeled this slide the good old days because this is when, if you were a Phoenix Suns fan, or if you were even an NBA fan at large like me, who doesn't particularly care about the Phoenix Suns, but will root for a good story, will appreciate a good young roster, it was looking quite swell.
Yeah.
Everything was going well.
They say, or I don't know if they say, I definitely say it, so maybe other people should start saying it too. You get one fun year where everyone likes you if you're a team that goes from bad to good. And 2021 was the Suns' fun year. It was really, because the year before that, they do the little bubble run where they barely missed the playoffs, even though
they go 8-0 in the bubble.
Yeah,
they don't lose a single game.
Really high level team. It was like, damn, like this is a fun young team that's really coalescing. And they take Chris Paul from the Thunder that offseason. They trade for him, and he goes full on, savvy vet, pulling together a locker room of young guys. And they come into this 2021 season. They won 50 games in a shortened season, was it?
Exactly. So you have it written down here, 8-0 in the bubble, trade for Chris Paul. That trade, they sent out Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, is that how you say that? And a 2022 first-round pick. Yeah, I honestly completely...
Sorry, shout out to LeCue, man. More successful than me, but whatever.
And they received Chris Paul, Abdel Nader, and they signed Jay Crowder soon after that in free agency. We all liked that move, right? They're replacing Ricky Rubio, who before that season, everybody said the Suns need to get a good passing point guard next to Devin Booker, because that's when they were just like shit from a butt and were a terrible roster. And Devin Booker was trying to get it out the mud, but constantly it put in a position where you couldn't succeed. Chris Paul was supposed to push them to the point in which they can be a serious team, bringing in an adult into the room at the same time as they just drafted a couple years ago DeAndre Ayton, who should give the 1-2 punch next to Devin Booker. Things were looking up. And like you said, it worked immediately, making the NBA Finals in 2021 after winning 50 games in a shortened season. You can't ask for better momentum than this. Surely this continued to go up, right? Surely they made the Finals, young team, the first year together. Surely they'll make it back, right? Surely this momentum will continue.
I think they're really, I know you're doing a bit here, but I do really think they're the poster child for finish the job when you get there, because you don't know what's going to happen. If you told a fan back then where they ended up, I don't think a lot of people would believe you, just because the vibes were, even after coming off the finals loss where they blow a 2-0 lead, the vibes were, it was like, hey, we're incredibly young, we're incredibly deep, we have a lot of players who are very much on the rise, like 22, 23 years old, and we will be back here in some regard at some point. It felt inevitable, and clearly with the benefit of hindsight, that has not been the case.
Yeah, and the I think the big stark thing here is, to this point, this era of James Jones-led GMing on the Phoenix Suns to save the Devin Booker career was led by good decision after good decision. Yes. Getting Mikal Bridges in via trade in the draft, basically stealing him from the Philadelphia 76ers, fantastic move. Yes. Drafting Cam Johnson, even though everybody said, what are you doing? He's old. That's higher than he's projected by all the experts. That was a silly pick. Believing in him and seeing the fit was smart. Drafting DeAndre Ayton was not smart, but he was playing well, and it wasn't the glaring miss it is today yet. He was still hungry, had a fire lit under him, and there was some flashes of it not being an absolute disaster.
I would still defend the Ayton pick.
Sure. The process was okay.
Incredible athlete. Really, like not once in a lifetime, but very rare level of college player as well. He's not Luka, and Luka's resume in the Euro League was clearly better, but taking him at number 1 overall, it was the safe pick, and I think for a while it was like they were getting production out of him that was like, hey, we missed on Luka, we didn't get him, we could still be happy with Ayton. That was the vibe. It wasn't a disaster for a while. Yeah.
And then getting Chris Paul was very smart, right? Mm-hmm. For all the reasons I was talking about at length. He made that team work. He took them to the finals. He unlocked DeAndre Ayton. There was a playoff series when they beat the Lakers that year on the way to the finals where he was giving Anthony Davis work. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God.
What a postseason. Really?
Dude, it was a fantastic run.
He fucks up AD and Jokic in the same run en route to the finals. And then Giannis, I mean, it's like some of the best basketball Giannis has ever played that season. Yeah. But for a young center, it was a very promising year for Ayton.
Exactly. So to this point, everything was going right. There was very few misses in terms of logic and reasons why moves are made and the motivations behind them, right? It seemed like James Jones was a good GM. Maybe he didn't care enough about the draft and he was a little willy-nilly with picks, but it worked. So we let him get a pass.
And it feels notable that none of these are home run swings either.
Yeah, just a lot of doubles.
Yeah, it's just very good decision on the margins after good decision, and taking your time with a young talented team, fleshing out the roster in a way that, like, if you look at their decisions post that era, is it the same? Or is it a similar vibe roster construction wise?
Okay, so now let's move on to the next chunk of years, 2022 and 2023. So we're post finals. We've seen this team has the ceiling it has, and now we say, how do we get better? How do we get over the hump? We lost. We clearly aren't good enough yet. The Bucks aren't going anywhere. Nobody else in the West is going anywhere. The Lakers will be healthy next year. We must get better.
Yeah.
Well, DeAndre Ayton in the summer 2022 was a free agent, and the Pacers gave him a max contract and forced the Suns to match because they didn't want to lose the asset for nothing. At this point, it was clear they didn't really value Ayton because of the relationship with Monty Williams, I think mostly, and whatever other reasons they wanted to. But they had to sign him. And the same summer, they gave Devin Booker the supermax. So now, future flexibility you have is capped. That's, the normal progression of a team. That wasn't really an issue, right? That summer, it was fine. You still had good hope in them, right?
Yeah.
Then they start the season 30-27. It is not going super good.
Yeah.
They are mediocre. They're not doing, their injuries aren't great. DeAndre Ayton's not playing necessarily as good as he once did. We're kind of like, what happened to playoff Ayton? And as a response, they trade for Kevin fucking Durant. They trade Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and 1 pick swap. This wasn't a terrible move, right? We can still look back and say it wasn't bad.
Yes, I will defend this to the end. To the end, you moved promising young players and a haul of picks for a guy who pretty much every season has given you 50-ish games of MVP level play so far.
Correct.
So I'm not mad at this move still, even knowing where we wound up with all of it.
Correct. As soon as this happened, this is the first year of the D3, so there's record of what I thought about this trade. I saw like 8 games in which they had a healthy Kevin Durant in the postseason. I mean, in the regular season going into the playoffs. Yeah. And I said, I kind of think they'll make the finals. Like, this team is kind of amazing. Everything we saw from the Suns in 2021, I kind of believe they'll do it again. I kind of believe that Kevin Durant is exactly what they need. Shout out Bridges and Cam Johnson, but getting a top 5 player in the world to pair with Devin Booker, who at this time was a clear top 10 player to me. Chris Paul, I still felt like he had something in the tank. We later found that may not be the case. Maybe that was a downfall. But I felt like at this point, this is the peak of the rebuild. This is where the ball should have stopped. This is when you maximize the team you had, and it made all the sense in the world. And I feel like you had kind of hit roster perfection. 2 elite scorers, both are amazing off ball, an amazing passing point guard, and a very good number 1 overall center. Yeah. It all made sense. Nothing really struck you as a glaring issue.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's tricky. Because I also think this goes back to between those 2 years when they won like 60 games, but the year before they traded for Kevin Durant, and that's the year that Luka nuked them. in game
Yeah,
7.
I skipped that year. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so I think the vibe, my thoughts were like, okay, well, we're downgrading some of the depth, but now you feel a lot more comfortable going into a situation like that, where even like if it's not, legacy Devin Booker game, you have this guy who's been a champion. He's won at every single level, and he's just been like, I don't know, he's been through the fire or whatever, and he's come out on the other side in Kevin Durant. And so I loved the move, and I really liked where their roster was at the end of that Nuggets series. There was like a lot of questions about Chris Paul's health and, where we were at on the downslide of his career. And we were just starting to see some of the real warts on DeAndre Ayton's game in terms of like engagement, rebounding, defense, how he was really progressing as a prospect and shit. But
You know why those warts came out?
why was that?
He's goddamn paid. He was paid. The motivation was clearly gone. That was a huge difference, it seems. But you're right. At this point, the decision was smart. We're still at a point in the timeline in which we're saying, good job, James Jones.
Damn, goddamn.
4 first-round picks is a lot to give up.
Stop paying players. That's really what I'm all like. I'm always on the side of the employee, but then you get me into like the NBA scenario, and I'm straight up Henry Ford, baby. I'm like, yo, starvation wage. This guy, I need to see him grind it out, man. And Ayton,
Shout out Capital.
yeah, Ayton. I mean, after the paycheck hit, just not really.
Bourgeois, Jokic Joestar.
Yeah, he didn't have the developmental arc that you wanted to see from a guy with those physical tools at all.
And yeah, and 4 first-round picks was a lot to give up for Kevin Durant, but it felt like it gave them enough of a ceiling that is absolutely worth it. Good job. This team should be one of the favorites in the West for the next 3 years, or however long it is until Chris Paul falls off. Right?
Yeah,
like we know we're on a small timeline, but we'll make the most of it.
Yeah. Four first-round picks for Kevin Durant. You make the move, and then you're like, okay, we have to be very careful with the rest of our resources, building out the rest of this roster. We don't have a ton of wiggle room to do something disastrous that, sucks in everything else that we have to trade and leaves us with a very poor asset on the other side.
And then the playoffs come around. DeAndre Ayton is injured. Chris Paul is injured, mostly because he's old, and that happens a lot. And they get blasted by the future champion Denver Nuggets. Mm-hmm. So again, we traded for Kevin Durant 4 months ago, but we got blasted in the playoffs because our best point guard wasn't available, and a center we already don't really like that much also wasn't available. This is when things go downhill. This is when we get to the rash summer of 2023, in which we get the decisions that bring us to where we are today, that set the table for all the problems we start off the top of this video. Mm-hmm. They said DeAndre Ayton, good fucking riddance. We traded him and Tumani Kamara for Yusuf Nurkic and Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
No picks involved, 2 for 2. Well, I guess Tumani Kamara was a pick at that point. But they said, we're done with the DeAndre Ayton experience. Bring us Yusuf Nurkic. I guess the logic was he's a safer pick. He'll bring us some small stuff. Maybe the passing will be complimentary, and there won't be the locker room issues with DeAndre Ayton that currently preside under Monty Williams.
Yeah, I would like it on record. I hated this the second it happened.
I fucking despised it.
It was just one of the most, and not illogical, because this is also a testament to really how low DeAndre Ayton's trade value was at the time. Like, we're kind of glossing over it. The saga that went down between DeAndre Ayton not liking Monty Williams, DeAndre Ayton getting paid, and DeAndre Ayton getting nuked by Jokic in the playoffs, nobody wanted anything to do with him on the trade market. And so, Nurkic, maybe it's like a realistic return for that kind of asset, but like it's just the second it happened, I was like, that is not something they're going to get good value back on.
In many ways, this was a salary dump as well. They're obviously a second apron team still. If they kept Ayton, they'd be even more expensive. That was a part of the equation. And clearly a bad move. Clearly the logic, fit-wise, talent-wise, the equation there, the value you're looking through wasn't worth it. Especially because you fucking fired Monty Williams right after this. The guy that had the issue with him didn't even stick around, so you lost a better young asset. And obviously they didn't know what Tumani Kamara would turn into, but that hurts looking back.
Yeah, like it sucks with hindsight, but I don't criticize him for that fully. And I think Grayson Allen has generally been a good role player for them. This year, fallen off with the bulk and everything like you talked about, but for most of their time in the league, they have gotten more out of Allen than they would have out of Tumani Kamara. And like, I don't criticize them for that
that one's fine.
swap at all.
But I mean, it goes to show the lack of care for young talent and the upside potential of how important it is to continue to nurture that while you're also winning now.
Yeah.
They just got old in both spots and didn't care because they thought Nurkic was going to be the answer. Honestly, I kind of do blame him for it now that I'm thinking about it, because they weren't doing it for like a win now player who's like good.
No.
We all knew Yusuf Nurkic sucked. It wasn't surprising to us. It wasn't surprising to anybody besides James fucking Jones.
Yeah, so the way I look at all this, because Matt Ishbia got control of the Suns before they traded for Kevin Durant. That was the year that he took over the Suns, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, we got to talk about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I completely forgot to mention that.
Yeah, and so Ishbia takes control of the team, and it's very clear that he is an owner that wants to be aggressive in the market. And so they make the Kevin Durant deal, and I think a lot of people viewed him as a smart guy because they made a deal that gained them one of the best players on the planet and really like maximized their window right now. And in retrospect, he's not a smart guy. He just started being aggressive when there was a good deal in front of him, and then they put like 3 bad deals in front of him, and he was like, "I'm still aggressive. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that."
Ride the hot hand. Keep going.
Yeah, fire up the fucking trade machine. I don't care what happens. He's fucking ripping lines of like success on there, and so yeah, it's very clear in retrospect that like the aggression of the new owners is what like led to them doing the Kevin Durant deal, and not necessarily like a front office savviness. It was more just like something needs to change, and they got really lucky by the change being borderline prime Kevin Durant. Yeah.
So obviously they do Nurkic thing, the same thing they do that summer. In the same way they rid themselves of the DeAndre Ayton experience, they had an equal desire to rid themselves of the Chris Paul experience.
Yeah.
They saw a playoff series in which he was not healthy, a year in which he was really struggling with injuries the whole time, but they literally lost the series because he wasn't there. And they said, we can't latch ourselves to this guy, right? We need to get younger with that salary spot and get something more reliable. Was that the right decision in terms of your analysis of who Chris Paul is and how much value he has? I don't know. We'll talk about that in a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Who's to say? I guess I understood the logic. I think the fit with Chris Paul was still really good, so I'd be able to give him a little more of a chance, but I get it. The problem was they traded Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, 4 first-round pick swaps, and 6 second-round picks for Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, and Isaiah Todd. 2 last players didn't fucking matter. They brought in Bradley Beal to be the 3rd star next to Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and signed the death note to this team.
Yo.
This was obviously the just fucking hammer put in both their hands.
Yeah.
That really has where we are today.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to come up with a comparison for this, because if the Nurkic trade was like, I don't know, if you've ever had a friend who's addicted to vaping or something, and the Nurkic trade was like them being like, dude, I can't find my vape, and you're like, are you okay? Like it's just like you don't have it for 15 minutes. It's all right. That's the Nurkic trade. The Chris Paul trade is them like tearing apart the fucking living room, being like, I know you have it. Give it back to me right now. Like it's just a I don't know.
I think the Chris Paul trade was them transitioning to crystal meth.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
leveling up.
They're in the bathroom fucking smoking tinfoil, and it's like, dude, you need to go somewhere, because the second they moved for like, nobody knew how the Wizards were going to do anything with the Bradley Beal contract. The second the Wizards gave Bradley Beal that contract, $50 million a year with a no trade clause, everybody unanimously agreed it was the worst contract in basketball. Very few contracts were even in the discussion for it. And so like the Suns are like, yeah, we'll take him. That's a 30-point per game scorer. Oh my God, that's one of the best guards in basketball. We'll just take the talent and we'll figure out the fit down the road. They were fooled by like, I don't want to say empty stats, but he's not really 30-point per game scorer. He hasn't been for a long time. And they just willingly.
Even if he is.
Yeah.
Even if he is that good, which I think Bradley Beal is good and looks worse now than he really is, you're not going to get a good version of Bradley Beal playing next to Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. It was a baffling misunderstanding of the talent you have in the door and what will put them in the best position to succeed. Everything we saw from 2021 would also be a formula that works with Kevin Durant in the door. Kevin Durant does zero to change the equation of what makes sense around Devin Booker. They have similar needs. You need playmakers, you need interior defense, you need other wings to help defensively. Yeah. All the quintessential basketball things that matter. Chris Paul brings the passing in a way that is so complementary. almost no players in NBA history are better suited to fit those two star scorers. Bradley Beal could not be more different than Chris Paul. It is a utter insane decision to replace those skill sets and think you'll get better.
Yeah, and that's what, like, going back to what I was joking about earlier, where it's like you make the Kevin Durant and the Booker or the Kevin Durant trade, and you look at your roster. I don't know how you walk away from that situation being like, all right, what we need now is more scoring punch.
More buckets.
That's what would put us over the line into contender territory, is just, another guy who needs the basketball in his hands to be effective. Like, if they make the right, like, decision at that point, and instead of sinking their precious few remaining assets, like, if you look at what they're working with now, the shit that they gave up for Bradley Beal is like a treasure chest of stuff to accomplish moves with that they just don't have access to anymore. If they use those things to flesh out defense, rebounding, playmaking, shooting, role player shit around these two really high-level players, it's a different team. Maybe they look different. Like, maybe they're good instead of frustratingly mid in a horrible future. I don't know.
Yeah, like their issues now, defensively, these two moves are why we are where we're at today. Yusuf Nurkic is not a good rim protector. Bradley Beal, not really his fault because it's never been his game, is obviously not someone who's making your defense better. It makes you have the point where Kevin Durant has to be your best perimeter defender on the court, and Devin Booker has to, I guess, be your third, and like be your main point of attack defender. Like, because if you're starting Grayson Allen next to him like they did the following year, like, it doesn't make sense. Now Devin Booker has to be your point guard, the best off-ball shooting guard in the goddamn league, one of the best ever, amazing off-ball skill sets, has to be your point guard. I guess you want to do some James Harden shit and think it'll revolutionize him. It didn't work. Last year, they got into playoff setting and they got fucking bounced by the Minnesota Timberwolves because they got blitzed every single play and couldn't handle the physicality because they had no playmaking talent out there. And Devin Booker couldn't handle that because that's not his game. And, you know, Bradley Beal doesn't bring physicality or defense. Yusuf Nurkic doesn't bring physicality or defense. Up and down the roster, in the same way I mentioned this year's team is soft as baby shit, so was last year's team. And that's why they lost. And Frank Vogel, I think, did an underrated job of making their defense competent. The fact that they were 13th last year is hilarious after everything we just mentioned. Yeah. And then they fired him.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. When you look at the roster now, I don't know how much of it is coaching. It's definitely some of it. But like if you look at the lineups, it's so much more often that they're rolling out a lineup with 2 or 3 dog shit, unlivable defenders, like guys that you literally, any team in the league would be happy to get on a switch. Be like, yes, that's what we practice for, is to get that guy on an island.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. So what do you got? Sorry.
We have to, yes, you're right. There's more dog shit defenders than there even was last year. And that's because this past summer of 2024, we got to talk about this last section of how we got here. In the summer of 2024, they draft Ryan Dunn. They draft Oso Ighodaro, right? Mm-hmm. Fine.
Pretty good draft, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
cool.
You could do way worse.
Cool. Then you get to the summer of free agency. You sign Mason Plumlee. Sure.
Oh, man.
Backup big, sure. Fine. Don't care. You sign Monte Morris, backup point guard. Sure. Okay. Whatever. He's Monte Morris. That's where he should be. You need playmaking talent. Fine. You sign Tyus Jones, who NBA fans adore, who he was considered a very hot commodity. And at the time of the signing was, underrated signing. You got some people on TV being like, this is the biggest signing of the year. It'll make them a contender. All this stuff. Because the idea of Tyus Jones from like 3 or 4 years ago was the lowest turnovers you can imagine while giving you really good playmaking and really bringing together an offense, setting the table, precisely what you need next to him, right?
Yes.
The issue was to sign him for a minimum, they had to guarantee him a starting spot on the team. And they have honored that guarantee all year. And he has been the worst starting point guard in the NBA, the worst defender in the NBA, the worst scoring from that point guard position in the NBA. It's an absolute disaster.
Yeah, I think it really stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of the player that Tyus Jones has been over the past several seasons. Just in the sense
wait. The Phoenix Suns misunderstood their talent that they brought in?
I don't know. It's shocking. Yeah, like
That's crazy.
Because like the Phoenix Suns are just like the benchmark for like finding guys in the margins. I've always said that. They're like the Suns just they're constantly finding guys who help them win.
Once they get a couple stars, surely they'll be fantastic with that amazing scouting department they got.
Yeah, and so Tyus Jones, that people are looking at him over the past few years leading up to this, and when he was in Memphis, he was like a really solid backup point guard, solid enough. Like I don't even want to say like the best in the league, but like he was in the top 10 or whatever.
He was referred to as a backup point guard in the league.
Yeah, he goes to Washington. No one watches. No one pays attention to anything. It's the void. It's the blank years. I don't blame anybody for not watching that. Not good at basketball. Like terrible, unplayable defender who maintains these impressive offensive stats, but like you mentioned earlier, no risks on the offensive end. He takes no risks as a scorer, and he specifically takes no risks as a playmaker either. He racks up 5, 6, 7 assists per game just by making very safe passes to talented players who finish the plays, like a Kevin Durant, like a Devin Booker, like a Bradley Beal to some extent. And so you're just left with this guy who averages, 11 and 5 on solid efficiency or whatever, but every time you watch him play, it's just like the easiest basket in the world for the other team, and he provides very little value on the offensive end.
Yeah, it's a huge problem, especially when you combine it with everything Yusuf Nurkic doesn't do well. You don't have physicality from the 5.
Everything.
You don't have physicality.
Everything. The list of things he does well is, you could say it in a second and a half, probably. It's crazy.
I don't even know. But you don't have good rim protection. You don't have physicality from the 5 in a way that matters. Like, he'll throw some elbows, but he's not
he's an asshole, down low. But like, he doesn't defend well.
Yeah. You don't have physicality from the point guard. You have a literal cone. Mm-hmm. Devin Booker is a decent defender, but honestly, he wasn't that good this year. But also the defensive infrastructure is a lot worse, so I'm not surprised he regressed. You have Kevin Durant, who's a good defender.
Shout out to
obviously.
KD. Shout out to Kevin Durant for being, what is he, 38 now?
Something.
Yeah,
old.
I mean, like for a guy that, like, I don't know, has been labeled as maybe prima donna or whatever, asks out of teams all the time, followed like this stuff around the league, shows up and they're asking a near 40-year-old guy, you have to be the best defender on the team every single night for 82 games in the regular season. He shuts up and does it, and he does it incredibly well. Shout out to Kevin Durant, man.
Shout out. And then you got Bradley Beal. There is zero coach in NBA history that will make that team good. I just don't see it happening. The defensive talent is a non-starter. I understand, like I said, this team needed playmaking talent, so I understand why all of us are able to convince ourselves that it would make them better. But goddamn, were we wrong. It just doesn't matter when that playmaking talent is unplayable in so many other areas. You don't reap the benefits at all. Mm-hmm. Like, whatsoever.
It's not even really playmaking talent. It's like swinging the ball talent. It's not,
which that mattered. Last year, they needed that. Yeah, that's kind of what they needed. But if the guy can't score and is no threat, it doesn't matter. He's not gonna have a lot of opportunities to swing.
Yeah. So yeah, just a really rough series of decisions. I still like going back. The Bradley Beal thing is the thing that killed him. You could maybe survive some of these other things if you weren't paying a non-all-star level player $50 million a year, but the second you do that, asking someone to like build a super competitive roster is just ridiculous. You're not, like, no one should be expected to do that.
Yeah, it's not great. And yeah, we're at the point now where they're the 11th seed. They don't have a lot of hope of getting better this year. No. They just are stuck with this team. Jimmy Butler was supposed to be the lifeline. Again, I told you, we didn't make this video for like 4 goddamn weeks because we swore Jimmy Butler would be wearing purple and orange. He's not. There's no savior coming. Shout out Nick Richards. They've looked better with you than they did Yusuf Nurkic. That's good.
It's a low bar. It's, it's not hard. But yeah, shout out Nick Richards.
But they are still just the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
And that's how we got here.
It's crazy because, like, if you look at how Jimmy's playing in Golden State, he would help a lot. It would be nice to have a guy like that on this roster right now. And so to come out on the other side of the deadline, just like, this is the squad, baby. This is who we're rocking with. To have this giant hole in front of you to like dig yourself into the play-in, to be like, maybe we get to make the play-in tournament. it's frustrating. It's a letdown because I love watching good players, play in the biggest games. And Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are still two of the best players in the sport. And it just doesn't feel like they'll be really getting into those scenarios soon.
Yeah. And again, I opened it with this. I opened the video with this. I think this is the worst big three in NBA history. Like in terms of what they gave up to get them, how they're performing on the court, the consequence for the stages of everybody's career, where it's going to put the franchise and the momentum going to the next decade. Mm-hmm. It's not only one of the biggest disasters in NBA history. On the court, they are pitiful. It is not a good basketball team. I don't know if we can think of a worse big three.
Oh, do you have some?
Sure. I'll name a couple of the other biggest disasters in NBA history. I'll name a few. You tell me which one is a worse big three.
All right.
Let's start off. The Lakers team with Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, and Steve Nash.
Oh my God, this is worse. Oh my God. If Steve Nash's back was not crumbling into dust, that's a good basketball team. I don't care. Dwight Howard, he wasn't, Orlando Dwight or anything. He had some left in the tank, and Kobe Bryant was still pretty solid. It's not great. It's not winning a championship, but I like the process a lot more than the Beal
You could
thing.
say they got messed up by injuries, but there's a world in which it could have worked. There's no silver lining for the Suns. They've been healthy as shit. They're just terrible.
Yeah. So I would go Lakers there.
Here's one that sucks. What about OKC with Russ, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony?
Oh, that was oh my God. That's tough.
At least they won a playoff series. They won a playoff series.
I will go OKC there.
Wait, did they? Am I misremembering that?
I think you are. I think they got
No, they lost in the first round to Dame. Never mind.
Yeah, they lost to Dame and they lost to Donovan Mitchell back to back.
Never mind.
Exits there.
Never mind.
So, yeah. You know what? No, I'll still go OKC here. It's close. I really do believe that because I hated the process with the Carmelo Anthony move as well. But I think Westbrook and Paul George at that stage in their careers are probably like a better aggregate talent than Booker and KD right now.
Yeah, like maybe Bradley Beal is better than 2018, 2019 Carmelo Anthony. You don't see it. You don't see any reason on the court that makes it matter. The fit is worse here. Mm-hmm. It's just three bucket getters. At least Paul George and Russell Westbrook made sense together.
They were winning like 50 games, like they were productive together, even though the postseason shit didn't go the way you wanted it to.
Like that team really sucks too, and I want to say the Suns are better, but like why? What reason do I have to give the Suns a head up? Like,
it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I'll go OKC there.
Okay, let's keep going. See if we can find a worse one.
There's got to be one out there. It's KD and Booker.
Okay, I'm going. I'm swinging for the fences now. This is the big guns. This has to be worse. We'll see. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook.
Oh man. I will go the Suns here, I guess, just because like the things they did to Russell Westbrook made it so much worse. Like the objectively more talented LeBron and AD than Booker and KD at those points in their respective careers.
Yeah.
But like the way they used Westbrook just was so damaging to the level of play of the whole team that I will shout out to Beal. Like he has not been terrible this year. He just hasn't been what they need to like really flesh out the roster.
Yeah, I don't know. These are two of the biggest disasters of all time. Probably the worst big threes in NBA history. There's some other ones with some guys that were more washed, but like these guys were supposed to come in and be immediate stars.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute disaster. So for expectations wise, I think these are the worst big threes in the NBA. I'll say the Lakers are worse. We'll give the Phoenix Suns a win. We'll say you're the second worst big three. Maybe you're not the worst. There's been a bigger disaster out there. There's been a bigger shithole. Congratulations.
Yeah. Hey, and that one you can point to at least. That was directly LeBron's fault. So, like, it's
all right, settle down.
I don't think Kevin Durant was in the war room being like, "Bring me Beal now." I think I put that more on Ishbia, but the GM, he was fucking shut up for a second there.
All right, settle down. Okay, so we know why the team sucks right now. We now chronicled how we got here. The question is, how do we fix it? Is there anything this team can do to put themselves on a path in which the organization will see success anytime soon?
Yeah. I mean, is there anything that anybody can do, Like, are the steps that you take to avoid your fate the steps that eventually push you into it? Is really like the question that we're asking here, because it doesn't feel like the Suns have that many avenues to pursue in terms of like adding talent or getting younger or getting better or getting more athletic or being a more successful team in any capacity. But maybe there's one desperation heave left in here. I have no idea.
When you think about it, do any of us really have free will? Do any of us have a say in what's ordained for us in this life?
I don't know. Ask Matt Ishbia. Like he definitely does. If you have that much money, you definitely do. But guys like you and me, I don't know.
Yeah. So the lifeline could have been getting Jimmy Butler. That didn't work out. They're running it back. Mm-hmm. It has been reported by Brian Windhorst that Kevin Durant is under the understanding that he will be traded this summer. That the fact they floated him in trade rumors upset him, because obviously, why wouldn't it? He didn't talk about it. He's the best player on this team, and you tried to trade me? Like, what the fuck? If he would have said it's okay, he would be a member of the Golden State Warriors today. That seems safe to assume. If he wanted to be a teammate with Draymond again, he would have that. He's the only reason he's still on this team. He's going to request a trade this summer, probably. Yeah,
that's the vibes. I don't know. Windhorst, I've never seen a man more confident on TV than going, it's an open secret in the NBA that Kevin Durant's gone this offseason.
It's a good assumption. It's a good assumption.
I know. No, it all makes sense. And so I've pulled up with 5 possible trade packages. I've pulled up with 5 to present to you that where Kevin Durant might end up this offseason. Are you cool? I want you to say if you'd accept them or not.
Oh, a little deal or no deal?
Yes, a little Kevin Durant trade, deal or no deal.
Okay, who's first?
I want to start with the most logical one, Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets end up with Kevin Durant. The Phoenix Suns end up with Dillon Brooks, Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, 2 first-round picks. Notable, these are Phoenix Suns first-round picks. They
get their picks back.
They gain the ability to tank again, which makes them probably more valuable than the average first-round pick.
Deal. Don't even say any more words. Deal. Immediate deal. Instantaneous deal. Within a nanosecond deal. Now, do I think the Rockets should do this? Do I think the Rockets should put their eggs in the Kevin Durant basket? I don't know. But if I'm the Phoenix Suns and this is floated to me and I can get Reed Shepherd to start building around and hope I can put him in a better situation and be able to tank again, immediate deal. They were going to trade him for less to the Warriors.
Yeah, I would definitely do this. And even if I'm the Rockets are in such an interesting position because it's like, hey, if you don't want to give us one of your best players, I don't care. These picks are going to be incredible. I will be picking high with your draft picks. So, pick your poison here. If I'm the Suns, I would do it. If I'm the Rockets, who cares? That's not what this episode's about, baby.
This is a Phoenix Suns episode.
Yeah. All right, the second one.
If you're a Rockets fan, you're mad, we don't care. We'll talk about you later. Right now, it's Phoenix Suns time to shine for all the worst reasons.
You got a full Amen Thompson video. You're going to sit here and be upset with me because
don't ask anything of me ever again.
A fake trade. Oh, man. Okay.
Stop asking me to say nice things about Jalen Green. You got what you got. Don't throw a fit.
Have him. I don't. He doesn't.
Stop
have
asking.
One. Stop asking. I'm not going to. Quit asking. All right. So the second one I have Kevin Durant to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat end up with Kevin Durant. This was rumored pretty heavily towards the trade deadline here. And the Phoenix Suns end up with Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Nikola Jovic, and 2 first-round picks.
Oh, you think Pat Riley is senile? You think he's trading Tyler Hero, his young all-star? If the Phoenix Suns got bailed with this kind of lifeline, we need to build James Jones a statue. This is an immediate yes. Deal.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would if I'm the Suns. This is just, I don't know. It's you really hope Pat Riley is just like, senile is one word for it, but you also hope that Pat Riley just loves the culture of Kevin Durant, which is hard to imagine. But
I'm noticing you're trading almost every white player on the roster for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, well, maybe Pat Riley's into that. He is from the 70s, so he could definitely have an opinion like that, where he's like, "God damn it, Tyler Hero." It's funny though, because Hero and Duncan Robinson are just different kinds of white guys. You think Pat Riley would like one of them, where it's like Tyler Hero, he's like a black white guy, and Duncan Robinson is like an accounting white guy, and so you think
I think Pat Riley would hate looking at Tyler Hero talk like he looks in the mirror and sees Kevin Durant. I think that would piss him off. I think he would be like, pick your pants up.
Pick your pants up. Comb your hair. God, what kind of man gets a fade, Tyler Hero? That's Pat Riley.
How does your
right
mom
now.
think about? What does your mom think about these words you're saying?
Yeah. No.
Why
Shout
is
out to
Tyler
Hero.
Hero saying no cap?
Shout out to Hero, man. He's having a wonderful season. I think the Heat would be kind of dumb, but I also think post Jimmy they are in interesting desperation era. And I would also like to say there's probably tweaks to this package. Maybe with the more draft picks and the salary from Andrew Wiggins, they find a way to hold on to Tyler Hero. That's just not. It's just not what I drew up. That's just not what I thought.
I think the Heat
fun.
would do it for Wiggins. This is an immediate yes for the Suns. So
Yeah.
listen, for the Suns' perspective, you're cooking.
All right. Again, from the Suns' perspective, I have Kevin Durant gets traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies end up with Kevin Durant. The Phoenix Suns get Desmond Bane, Jalen Wells, Brandon Clark, Scottie Pippen Jr., and whatever picks we need to make it work.
You are making this game so easy for me. Apparently I'll trade Kevin Durant anywhere. Deal, 3 in a row. I'm accepting all of these. These are perfect lifelines. If I can get out of this experience of this core as a Suns ownership, at this point I'll take anything. So obviously I'll take Desmond Bane.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. I just think the Grizzlies. I do think there's a point approaching where they probably consolidate some of their depth into a better like top tier player. I just don't know if that move is Kevin Durant. It could be.
I would love to fit.
No, it would be sick. It's just like you at that point you're like Kevin Durant, please have the best longevity we've ever seen. Like we need like 3 years of this at least.
Yeah, at least.
But it would be cool while it worked. It would be incredible.
Dude, trying to score on the size of a lineup that has Kevin Durant and Jaren Jackson Jr. and maybe Zach Edey out there, that is crazy. That would be an amazing team.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. And then the last one here. This is just like if everybody involved is like literally huffing paint. Insane. Kevin Durant to the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks get Kevin Durant. The Suns get Max Christie, Daniel Gafford, Klay Thompson, Caleb Martin, Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum, and 2 first-round picks.
They would have like 4 players left on the roster.
They got to do some signings after this is done.
I would say this is hilarious. Nico Harrison, I don't doubt you. I do not doubt you whatsoever. I bet this is on the table in his mind.
Nico, I mean, genuinely, some of the reports that came out post-Luka trade, Nico Harrison was like, no, we tried to get Kevin Durant, like they tried to pivot into that, and they just couldn't get it done. I assume there's like a rule that he didn't know or something, but he's like, yeah, I didn't know that you couldn't send out more players than you get back or whatever. But yeah, I think this is something that he would like pull the trigger on and just flesh the rest of the roster out.
Actually, though, I'll give it a no deal from the Phoenix Suns perspective. I got to cut like 6 players to just bring a bunch of guys in, and I don't get my picks back. I get Max Christie, who's young and cool. Shout out. Mm-hmm. Give me Derek Lively, then we'll talk. For now, I'm saying no deal, and I'm calling Pat Riley back up to see if I can rip off that old man like the way you mentioned.
I'm lying on the phone. Pat, they're giving me Lively. What do you got for me? Khalil Ware? Okay, let's do it. Deal. There we go.
Shout out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I honestly, I feel like one of these teams might end up with Kevin Durant this summer. What do the trade packages look like? This seems pretty realistic.
Mm-hmm. The crazy one I didn't draw up for. The Orlando Magic are like 4th in the odds to get him.
For who?
I don't know. I don't know like what the salaries look like. It feels like they have no real money to send out just because they're so young and everything.
They send out Jalen Suggs and like their big man depth.
I guess it would be cool though. It would be fun for sure.
Franz at the 2? That'd be a fucking massive lineup. Good
Franz,
lord.
The Magic's best player, Franz Wagner. Guys, comment down below how that makes you feel.
Hey, make Franz a point guard with KCP, Kevin Durant, Paolo center. Maybe we're cooking.
Paolo center? Oh, man.
No, Paolo next to a center, not him playing center.
Okay. Oh, okay. I thought you were throwing... I was like, dude, you're throwing him to the Wolves. That's crazy.
Is there anything this team can do outside of trading Kevin Durant? Let's say this summer they mend the fences. Mm-hmm. Is there any other next steps to fix this mess that involve keeping Kevin Durant on the roster?
It doesn't feel like it. Do you genuinely? Do you have anything written down? Because I don't.
Oh no, absolutely not. I have written down to find God. Yeah, like find a religion. I don't know what the people in that organization feel with where their allegiances are aligned. But yeah, I have ask a higher power for divine intervention.
Yeah. Well, you're in the Southwest. You could go. There's ayahuasca out there somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
you could just go fucking trip shit in the desert for like 4 days, come back and be like, life's bigger than basketball, baby. It's just a game. And then ride it out with the same very mid roster. I don't think there's a real big change if you're not moving Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think it's time to rip their Band-Aid off. There's reports that Devin Booker wants to stay there forever in the wake of these Kevin Durant reports. Apparently that's been said. I don't know how credible those are.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like if you're going to trade Kevin Durant, like go all the way.
Oh, we are on the same page here.
Yeah, like blow this bitch up, trade Kevin Durant to
Whoa.
Memphis or whatever, and then send Devin Booker to the Rockets, get your picks back, and rip this bitch to the
Blow
studs.
this bitch up. I have a bomb. Right now. Blow this bitch up. No. Yeah. You're not like, there's no world where you move Kevin Durant and you get back a package that's like, hey, we're going to win 50 games in 2 years. This is a fast turnaround. No, it's not.
Are you going to retool around a 29-year-old pretty soon? Like, I want better for Devin Booker. I want better for him in his life, in his prime. Like, I don't want him to deal with that. Maybe he wants to deal with that. I hope he comes to his senses if this scenario comes, because that would be asinine to me.
Yeah. That's
but then
what
again,
I'm
it's
saying.
his life, whatever.
Like, I don't know. This is the other side of the coin with like the old head. Like, he played 20 years with one organization thing that a lot of people love, with Dirk and Steph and a lot of other people. They think it's cool, but like when you get an organization that makes a huge mistake and you're a really talented player entering not their like the end of their prime or anything, but you only have 4 or 5 years left and you commit yourself to an organization that's 7 years away from being competitive, we're just like, we don't get to see Devin Booker, be good in a playoff series anymore. It's just something that like we knew could happen and like it fell into the void of the Phoenix Suns rebuild. That would make me really sad.
Yeah. Well, him and Amen Thompson will be glorious. Before we get out of here, let's make one last little TikTok video.
Okay.
I want us to grade every era of Kevin Durant's career.
Okay.
Every team we went to, let's grade it based on how well it's gone from whatever you think, whether it's a team perspective, a single perspective for him and like his legacy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
First off, the Oklahoma City Thunder years.
I would give this a B+. I think this is a very like the only thing that sours it is the exit and everything. But
yeah, you can't give it an A for that reason.
Yeah, but beyond that, like incredibly successful begin to his career where he wins the MVP award. He wins like 4 scoring titles in 5 seasons. They make the conference finals. They make the finals. Yeah, it just generally like an incredibly productive. What is that? 7 years of basketball?
Yeah. And you solidify yourself as one of the most talented, likable players of all time. It's an amazing run to start a career. But then, like you said, you end it with just like spreading a diaper all over the city.
It is crazy how, like, if you weren't around before Kevin Durant went to Golden State, you just won't remember. But Kevin Durant was one of, like, the most liked players in the league. He was a lot of people's favorite player for a long time before the Golden State show.
Imagine everything you like about Anthony Edwards and how cool and fun you feel like it is to watch him. Kevin Durant was more cool and fun to watch.
Yeah. More aura. Yeah. More aura than Anthony Edwards. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a sexy points that people give Anthony Edwards, but in terms on the court, people like the fun factor was out of this world.
Yeah, it was sick. Yeah, so B+.
Honestly, he was
B+
Wemby.
there.
He was kind of Wemby.
It was very much a different kind of, we've never seen this before than LeBron, where LeBron was like this brutalizing guy we hadn't really seen before. Karl Malone can dribble now, but with Kevin Durant, it was like, holy shit, this is like if Dirk Nowitzki and Kevin Garnett were like full-on guard-pilled guys, like perimeter players, one of the best shooters we've ever seen. Okay,
well, what are we going to grade the Warriors years?
Hey, I'll give him an A+. It's evil.
Yeah.
It's evil. But evil. Like what can you say at that point? Like
on the map, it is chaotic evil. But you formed the greatest team anybody's ever seen. Did we like it? No. But listen, maybe you didn't want to be liked. Yeah. But then again, it crashed and burned and he left because he maybe wanted to be liked a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But greatest team of all time has to be an A+.
This always goes really well when guys pretend to know what Kevin Durant is thinking online. I heard he likes that a lot. I heard he takes really well to that, and he's like, yeah, you guys know what I feel. It's like funny. A testament to how destructive it was the fact that for 2 years, all you heard people say in regards to this team, it was either I hate them or Well, they're actually really fun to watch. If you're like a basketball purist, you love the Warriors, even though it was like, okay, we know there's no surprise for the next 2-3 seasons, whatever, but
all-time great villains. And it was very funny that he achieved greatest team of all time, and within 3 years, he was like, actually, I'm over this. Actually, I'll leave. Quintessential Kevin Durant, but nevertheless, amazing era.
Like damn, what's the Joker line? I'm like a dog chasing cars. He finally gets like his goal and everything. He's like, Draymond's really annoying to practice with. I don't know.
The Joker is a funny comparison. He sees misery around the corner. You complete me.
I gotta get out of here. Nice. Hell yeah. But A+, 2 titles, arguably second best player in the world. But
looks around. Turmoil. I need you.
Whoa, my guy, where have you been this whole time?
Kill you. I don't want to kill you.
Oh, man. Hell yeah.
What a good movie. All right. The Brooklyn Nets years.
Oh, I will give this it's got to be like a D+. Like there's a way it could have gone worse, but I don't know how much worse it could have gone.
I'll give it a C. It was some of the best, most talented years of his career, and it's beautiful what he did post-Achilles.
Yes.
But my God, was the team a just loaded diaper of nothing. Just the team was, I don't even know how to describe it. Whatever you feel like Jabba the Hutt looks like without clothes on. Or he doesn't wear clothes.
Yeah, what the hell? He's naked the whole time. I mean, Jabba the Hutt with clothes is what I'm really curious about seeing. But Jabba the Hutt wearing a hoodie. Imagine
the ugliest thing you could imagine, and that's how the team went to the hoodie. He's wearing Supreme.
Yeah. Jabba the Hype Beast. Yo! No.
The team outcome could not have gone worse. I'll give him personally a C. If this was a Kyrie Irving list, it would be an F. If this was a James Harden list, it'd be an F.
That's fair.
We'll give Katie some points, though.
I do think it's a testament to how good he was in these years that, everyone was like, he left Steph. He's never going to win again. I'm rooting on this guy's downfall at every opportunity. And then he was so good in the playoffs that like 80% of people walked away and they were like, yo, that shit was not his fault, dude. Like he was backpacking out there.
God, I wish his foot was a little bit smaller.
Like if he just just take a step back, Kevin Durant, please.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Phoenix Suns years.
I will give this. I'll give this a D-. It feels like it's gone worse than the Nets.
D-?
Do you think it's been better than the Nets?
I think it's an F. I think this is the worst era any superstar could imagine for themselves in the twilight of their career. I think it's been an atrocity. I think the team has put him in the worst position ever, and I think he should hate everybody involved.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he should hate Devin Booker, but a lot of
he should be nice to Devin Booker.
A lot of other people. It's justifiable to just not talk to anymore after this. Like that. Yeah, it's incredibly tough for a guy who, again, since arriving, has done nothing but play incredibly high level basketball and be the foundation of a team that's put nothing but mid assets around him, constantly downgrading the roster around him. That sucks for a 37, 38, 39-year-old player to see.
Kevin Durant, since he left Golden State, is dying to find a home and a team that he can just go out there and play ball and be a contender and do his thing and feel like he can stay here and cultivate a culture. The Suns have made that impossible.
Yeah, if Kyrie didn't have internet, it could have been Brooklyn. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, man. He definitely could have been. It should have been. If James Harden's hamstring wasn't made of ham.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, it's tough. It's tragic. But that's where we are. So Phoenix Suns, maybe just get into like meditation or something. There's other paths towards enlightenment because I don't know how much better the basketball is going to get.
You don't have it as bad as Mavs fans. You shouldn't want your GM harmed. You shouldn't be too far behind. You're the second least.
Yeah.
You should be the second most miserable fan base in the NBA.
Yeah. The Suns GM should be like breathing a sigh. He should be like sending Nico Harris some fruit baskets, being like, "My guy, hey, dude, I can't believe you're taking the heat off me. I really appreciate this. It doesn't matter what I do anymore because you fucked up so bad." My guy.
The little Uzi Vert meme.
Yeah. So it's
if you're
tough.
still here, comment What should people comment? Comment shout out Nico Harrison for
Shout out
making
Nico
the
Harrison,
Suns skate
dude.
by. Shout out Nico. And we'll see y'all next. See y'all in a couple days.
Adios.